The Market Mindset. We are the hub for news, results, and CEO interviews focusing the junior commodities sector. We provide market analysis and perspective that will help position you for solid returns. If that sounds like something you're interested in, you can help support us by liking this video, subscribing to our channel, and clicking the notification bell. For more info, you can visit our website. All links are in the description below. Now let's get into today's video.
Happy Canada Day, everyone. Happy Canada Day, Austin. How are you?
Doing good, Andrew. It's nice to have a little holiday and a nice long weekend and stuff. So that'll be great. Yeah, happy Canada Day to everyone out there.
Yeah, it's great. It's a beautiful day out here. It's a nice long weekend, and of course, we will probably do a quick hello on the Monday. But for all our American friends, have a great 4th of July weekend as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a nice little timing on that holiday. You get Canada Day on the Friday, you get Independence Day on the Monday. It worked out perfectly for everyone.
It's really good. I mean, you could tell yesterday it was very quiet down here, and then the streets were very quiet. The streets are very quiet this morning.
Yeah,
and it's nice out, so it's great. I mean, people are getting out and turn off the social media, turn off the phones, get outside, enjoy time with your friends and family. We're going to keep this pretty short, but I want to kind of mention a couple things because, as we know, there's not a lot of upbeat news out there. But I want to mention a couple of things because it's some themes we've been talking about and where things kind of are going. But we see from Reuters that Ford has done another deal here. So they look to do about 2 million EVs annually by 2026. So that's it's a little bit of a way, but they lent Australia's Liontown $300 million to help get their Western Australian mine into production. So we can see this is where things are going. We know Tesla's done that. This is the second deal that Ford has done. They've got an MOU with Lake Resources for lithium as well. So even though the lithium market's pulled back, we see this is happening. There's lots of money flowing into this space, so it's really good to see. On top of that, I'm just going to throw this out too. Before I talk about the G7 countries, I wanted to bring up this one British EV startup, Teva, it's Tevva. They launched a hydrogen booster truck model. So once again, very interesting. So this thing has got a hydrogen fuel cell. It's the first truck with a hydrogen fuel cell booster, and it can. It's got with a greater zero emission range. They're out of Tilbury, England. They've raised $140 million from investors. So this is still ongoing, and this is great because as we talked to some analysts before, they see that the solution isn't just going to be one thing. And even when we talked to Brian Ostroff, it's going to be a mixture of different types of lithium with different types of batteries as solutions, whether it's lithium ion, whether it's lithium iron, with the phosphate, whether it's hydrogen fuel cells. It's suggested that there's going to be a combination of all these things that come into play. And that's why we're exposed to all of those key ingredients that are going to make up this future. And then I'll just quickly end it just by this one kind of, and this was, I think, yesterday, the G7 launches $600 billion global infrastructure investment plan, including battery spend. So what's interesting on this, and this could be a whole report that we could do, is this is in part to counter the One Belt, One Road initiative out of China, which they've been doing for quite some time. A little late on this one, I'll tell you, but a little late is better than never. China's been doing this for a long time. They're way ahead of the front. What's interesting, though, is that the G7 countries have agreed that this $600 billion is going to middle and low income countries. So it's not going to North America. We're going to pay for it, but it's not going. It's a very strange thing. Now, and in part of their discussion was this was a thing, and one of the ministers made an oopsie saying this is to further promote world liberal democratic order. So this is a big push to counter authoritarianism from China. But as we see from a lot of, I mean, certainly if you take a look at Australia, Canada, a lot of progressive ideas, they're just as authoritarian. They're just very different.
Yeah.
So their democracy is certainly not something I'm interested in. But if it was actual democracy where you're encouraging people to keep their culture, to keep their beliefs, to keep their ideas, I'm all for that. But if you're going into countries to enforce your ideology, I'm not for that. And that's what really, I mean, I'm going to not make a lot of friends, but that's what progressivism is. It's the myth of diversity, but forcing you into a belief pattern that they have. That's why it's diversity is our strength. They don't want diverse ideas. They want you to believe in their belief system, their religion of what diversity means to them. They don't actually mean they want you to keep your culture. But that's something else. But it's a positive. It's a net positive because they've recognized that China has been pushing this empirical or this large push out there, and that means that's a ton of resources. That's huge. I mean, that's $600 billion is a pretty big deal, and there's more to come. We expect a lot more notices of that kind of nature, and that means a ton of resources. So once again, these types of things we want to mention because although yes, lots of negative out there right now, long term we can see these things start to fall into place.
Yeah, that's very true, and it's a way that you have to kind of target and attack this going forward. And what I kind of to bounce off the back of yours here, and it's a $600 million initiative. That's a good starting point, but there needs to be a much higher level of investment. And when we're spending a lot of money sending it places like I don't know, Ukraine, which Canada is sending another $350 million. We announced, I believe that was on Wednesday.
Yeah.
That's, when we're talking about, it's great that we're going to have this $600 million global initiative.
600 billion.
600 billion. Okay, well, that's a lot better then. That's a hell of a lot better than, if it was only 600 million. So that's an actual good number that we could be all right with.
Yes.
But even that still, I mean, the U.S. has sent already over $40 billion to Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
Imagine what you could do with that at home. Like that.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, and most people are recognizing that there's something up there. There's something very wrong there. And there was deal making with the Bidens in Ukraine and with Hunter before. So there's definitely something's up there. I want to leave a lot of that alone because it's politics. It has nothing to do with the poor Ukrainian people and no one likes war. That's not a good thing. But there's definitely shenanigans going on there for sure. And certainly that war isn't helping anybody except for Russia right now. Russia is clearly in the lead with this one here. As much as they try to point out that they're failing, they're not. Yeah. Their currency is strong. They're making tons of money on energy. They control the energy. They've got now a partnership with BRICS, with China and India. Those economies, I mean, they could push forward. The one problem, I've said it before, is that taking out the politics part, these are not competent people. They're not. Even if you want to do this initiative that they want to do, you need to find people of merit that have the actual ability to do this. And in the West, I can't think of many leaders or any politician, very few of them, that would even have the ability to pull this off. So unless people actually get serious and look at who they're voting for and not as a pop because they say nice stuff, like they're not mean. I don't care if someone's mean. I really don't. If they can get the job done and they can hit these targets that they want to hit and they have that ability, they have that then okay, I can deal with mean. But incompetence
I'm willing to take that trade-off. Yeah.
And unfortunately we're left with a lot of people that are just completely incompetent, and they would have, if this was an open market where they had to actually compete for their job, they'd have no chance. So I mean, that's if there was some sort of skill testing question, can you explain the monetary policy? I mean, we know Justin can't. Certainly Biden wouldn't have had any chance. So there's not, we'll leave that there. I mean, once again, whenever I talk politics, it's that we're only because we're in such a crazy divide and it's so ridiculous and absurd right now that this isn't pro the other side either. I'm not saying, I'd say, here's the solution. It's just people really need to lock down and go, what's actually important? Our housing, our economy, our food, all of these things that are going through the roof that are falling apart. We need to shake our head a little and, look at things a bit more serious, especially now that we've got, Canada Day and the 4th of July, and people remember, where do we come from? What have we built and what do we want to have in the future?
Yeah. And that's the important things to remember as well is what do you want to prioritize in your individual countries, right? And what do we stand for? What do we believe in? What's gotten us to where we are, the good and the bad, and how do we tweak that and change it and adjust and look at a path forward? And I think that any country's kind of national days, and that's why we're tying this into Canada today, is an opportunity to look at yourself and celebrate the things that you've done well, but also go and say, all right, here's where we need to be doing better. Here's where we need to be changing our strategy and readjusting and retooling going forward. So I think that's a great point.
Yeah. So you've got a couple of things that you want to touch base on too, because I just want to put a couple of those good kind of things out there, because that kind of spend is important, and it shows that infrastructure that's going to be built out. And that is an acknowledgement. This battery, the $600 billion to invest in infrastructure for battery energy, that's a positive.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned positive spending, because that's the first point I want to make. And I'll pose it to you like this, Andrew. If I was going to ask you, how would you want to fight inflation? Your answer probably wouldn't be, let's print more money and put more money in the cash flow. And that's the one thing I want to make. I figured I took the angle of let's poke fun at a couple of different leaders on our national days to celebrate the incredibly idiotic things that they're doing. And my favorite one that I found was Gavin Newsom's plan to give Californians another round of stimulus checks as inflation relief stimulus checks. So up to, I believe it's about 35 million Californians will be eligible for these $1,050 inflation relief stimulus checks, which is just, I mean, it's like you kind of said earlier, it's very clear and obvious that these people have absolutely no clue how a monetary system functions and what this is actually going to do.
Well, this has been the meme of, I mean, since I've been a child, is that the right knows how to create and to make money, the left knows how to spend it. So here's this notion that if we print more money, and inflation is printing of money, is M2, printing of M2. Now, I will say this. I think it was back in the 1990s that they changed that definition in the economics books to include the inflation of prices of things, of goods. So this is also part of what they do, whether it was what a vaccine is. I remember last year in August, they changed the definition of what a vaccine is. When you change specific scientific or data type terms to make them more vague, or even to change them, you change an entire system, because there's an agreed upon, this is what an inch means. If I now say an inch means something different, that's such, even just an inch, say, that would change your whole outlook on things very quickly. And it is, a nefarious thing to hide the fact that they don't want to promote that numbers are as bad as they are, and that they can shift and do that. And some of it is for, hey, we'll do a little harm for the greater good. Of course, the bigger fault is that that's typically what you do whenever you're attacking a country from within, is that you're trying to destroy the old system to create a new one. But this whole let's print more money, and it'd be one thing if it's like, hey, listen, we printed the money, we still have it in the bank, and we're going to give it out as $1,000 to people. That's different. This is going to be, we're going to print out another. It's laughable. And of course, they're being destroyed in Twitter and the social media space right now.
Yeah. I want to know where these money trees are, man, because I got to get one for myself.
I know.
But another one that I saw that I just thought, I had to mention it. President Biden was speaking last night at an event in Madrid, talking about inflation and talking about the war in Ukraine. And he said what I thought was a great quote, which is really, it's another one of these instances of the U.S. administration saying the quiet part out loud. He said, the U.S. will have high gas prices for as long as it takes to beat the Russians. And I mean, it goes along with the narrative of, which obviously we've talked about it dozens of times, of the reason for inflations and supply crisis and food shortages and high costs is not all because of Russia. Does Russia's invasion of Ukraine make it more difficult? Absolutely. We can all agree on that. But is it the root cause for this problem? Absolutely not. But the strategy of the American administration has been to constantly blame it all on Russia. This is all because of
everything's always Russia.
It's the big bad boogeyman Putin. which is just simply not true. If you talk to any actual economist or anyone who studies geopolitics, they'll tell you no. There's dozens of contributing factors to this. This is just one
Yes.
part, and yes, it certainly helped set off a chain reaction that has made it worse. But this idea that, and I mean, it goes to back to the fact that the Americans don't have a sound strategy on this as well, because
Yeah.
internally, all they're talking about is regime change in Russia. Well,
Yes.
the last time the U.S. tried to make regime change work, things didn't go so great in Libya,
No.
did they?
No, I mean, Libya, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan. I mean, you name the country. When they say regime change, things get ugly, and they've never been good. And so whether it was Republicans with their regime change or it's going to be him with a regime change, it's not good. It's definitely not good. But yeah, you're absolutely right. This we talked about this before, even any kind of rush of the energy shift, what that would look like in the change. And it maybe, if I'm going to go easy on people and be open-minded, it's once again in the quote unquote West, a politician gets into power and then has to just somehow remain in power. That's their job from day one. It isn't necessarily because they're excellent at getting things done. Oftentimes it's just, I'm going to say enough to get myself reelected. And then, if you own the media, which they do, I mean, the entire Western media is bought and paid for, whether it's progressive ideology or whatnot, they're going to defend him to the end. But people are waking up. And, it's up to people if they want to continue forcing the economy down or they don't want to. It is really up to the people at this point. So we can hope that there's a shift, and that doesn't mean I don't want to do this whole green initiative. I'm for it. It's going to help mining. It's great. It's just, we need to have some competent people in there that are actually speaking the truth.
Yeah, and I think that's the kind of core point of what we're trying to get across today is, with it being, a day of celebration and pride in your country, whether that's Canada or the United States, depending on which side of the border and which side of the weekend you fall on here. You should be prioritizing celebrating the great things that these countries have done, because they've provided tons of opportunities for people and have been beacons of freedom across the world for a couple hundred years now. But there's also great opportunities for change, and that change has to start at the top. And we wouldn't be doing it justice without calling the people at the top out for this. So I think that's the final point I'm going to make on it.
I love it.
But other than that, I hope everyone has a great weekend celebrating the great things about these countries and what makes them awesome. And I hope everyone has an awesome weekend. So
yes. And now on a much, much less base of awesome, but still interesting, we have an invite to show up here.
Yes, we do.
Yes. So for Stampede, we're having a little gathering here. So if you're in Calgary, or if you're in Edmonton or anywhere else and planning to come to Stampede, we'd love to see you. So there's the details there of the event. I can't read that with my eyesight, Austin. But if you,
so it's a mixer event with a company that actually just started trading yesterday. They just went public, Avila Energy Corporation, which was formerly Petro Viking Energy. Great team involved there. We're really excited about working with these guys. So the idea is, hey, come down, check it out, chat with us, chat with the management team from Avila. We'll be talking about the project, everything that they are gearing up to do over the months ahead, what their kind of strategy is going to be. It's going to be at South Block Barbecue down, which is on 4th Street in Calgary, right across from the Earls on 4th Street there. We're going to be there from about 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. Come down, say hi, have some snacks, have a drink, chat with us. If you'd like, send me an email if you want to RSVP for it. I'll put you on the list to make sure that we have you on there. We're looking forward to seeing whoever can make it down for that. It'll be awesome. We'll get to chat. We'll get to have a little bit of fun and enjoy the Stampede time, which is always great out here in Calgary.
Yes. And I mean, we're excited. We've put some money into this company, and we see energy as being key moving forward, especially as we go through this transition, and however long this transition takes. So this company's providing a buffer, and it's excellent to see. I love Alberta, if you want to see a lot of people pushing freedom of speech and freedom of movement and an actual belief in how the West was built, a lot of it's coming out of Alberta. Massive respect to the people of Alberta. So happy to come back and to have a bit of fun with everyone and say hi to all the friends and people out there.
So yeah, like I said, shoot me an email. I'll get you on the list. We'll RSVP it for you. And yeah, we're looking forward to seeing as many people as possible can make it out for that.
Excellent. Well, everyone, enjoy the weekend, and happy Canada Day, and happy 4th of July.
Take care, everyone. We'll chat to you next week.